Hi, Sam Baxendale here, co-founder of Kinetic Hiring. So for today's Insight on Demand session, we're going to be running a panel session with three fantastic panelists from very different and diverse backgrounds. We've got Chris Eriksson, who is the owner of a design thinking consultancy. We have PC Gan, who is general manager and vastly experienced digital leader in the Malaysia marketplace. And we also have Vishnu Venkatesh, who's a hugely experienced talent acquisition leader, having worked at many blue chips in the Malaysia market. Today, we're going to be talking about key learnings from the last 18 months. We're coming out, hopefully, of the tail end of the COVID crisis, and people now have a little bit more perspective and maybe some optimism about what's in store. So we're going to be exploring some key learnings and takeaways from the experience of the last 18 months. We're going to be talking about better hiring practices, in particular, how to hire and how to retain and how to drive engagement within your teams. And we're also going to be talking a little bit about prospects for Malaysia. Malaysia's got some very ambitious plans over the next 2 to 3 years that clearly we all want to see happen, but people and culture need to be front and center for that to be a success. So all that remains to say is I'm certainly looking forward to running the session with our three panelists, and we hope you enjoy watching it too and take some useful insights away from the discussion points. Thank you. So Chris, Vishnu and PC, thank you so much for joining us today. So to kickstart proceedings, so the audience get to know you a little bit, why don't we have a quick intro from each of you? So Chris, why don't you start off? Tell us what you've been up to and a little bit about your background.
So my name is Chris, I hail from Denmark. I've been living and working here in Malaysia and Southeast Asia for the last 16 years. I run a company called Human Inc. and we help big companies typically win through innovation and culture and new skills.
Awesome stuff. Thanks, Chris. Vishnu.
Yep, so Vishnu, and I'm essentially a recruiter. I've been in talent acquisition for the better part of a decade, both internal and external. And I've worked in big oil, in defense, in IT, and on the agency side as well.
Cool.
Yep.
Thanks, Vishnu. And PC.
I've always been in startups, so people would hire me to scale up their operations, ramp it up into a revenue kind of scaling position, and then ultimately is to penetrate into other countries.
Fantastic. Awesome stuff. Well, look, thanks very much for the intro, guys. Look, today is really about you guys and your experience and sharing some of your fantastic experiences over the last year or so. We're coming out of a tough period. You know, COVID has been a period that where businesses have had to accelerate in certain areas, improve in certain areas. Lots of ideas going around on what works and what might not work. And COVID could be argued to be a cause for good in terms of some of the positives that we can take from it as we move towards, Malaysia's next big goals in digital. So with that in mind, Chris, I'd be really interested to hear from you in terms of, what three positives do you take from the experiences over the last year, 18 months?
Yeah, I'm generally a bit of an optimist, so I've seen a lot, actually more than three, but of course there's many problems. But for us, I think first and foremost, traditionally as people doing consulting, learning journeys and so on with clients, obviously doing that offline was kind of the mode that every organization would have applied mostly. So suddenly that market was kind of gone. So we had to very quickly kind of do what we tell our clients to do, which is to completely revamp our service delivery, our business model, the cost structure over a very short amount of time. So that was kind of exciting, but also really helped us survive. If we had not done that, we would have been dead in the water, or at least had to reduce our operations significantly. So that was kind of one positive.
So you had to switch your business model as well.
We had to switch the business model, and the other part is probably that actually there's always opportunity in crisis. So I think the need for digital skills change has been elevated, and that's the business we're in. So for us, it's been a good thing in a sense.
And do you think you'll be taking some of those approaches forward as a formal part of your business service from here then?
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. Cool. Great. Vishnu, in your world of talent acquisition, what 2 or 3 things have you taken from the last year or so?
Well, I think firstly, if you're managing a team, just lead with empathy.
Yeah.
More so because everyone has COVID fatigue at this point, and we don't know what's going on in people's lives. You may have team members who you haven't even met in person.
Yeah.
And it's always good to just kind of be a bit more empathetic, even if things aren't going right, and try and work with them to better the situation. And of course, because everyone's on Zoom or Teams or whatnot, over communicate. You know, like I just think that it's better to over communicate than under communicate. And you know, sometimes you might irritate people, but it's just something that you need to do to make sure that you achieve your objectives and ultimately nurture top performers as well.
So what does that look like, Vishnu, in terms of, you know, in terms of identifying and nurturing top performers? Can you dig a bit deeper for us on that? If you're managing a team, you know, your top performers are the people that are going to be getting you through the hard times, and you want to make sure that they're not overly stressed, or if they are, that you support them a little bit more. Maybe give them more credit to senior stakeholders and shine the spotlight on them rather than taking all the credit yourself, because ultimately you want to retain these people. Well, that's interesting, because then COVID could be seen as an opportunity to catalyze your future leadership.
Absolutely.
Sort of galvanize their roles within the business. Awesome. Cool. Thanks, Vishnu. So PC, from the world of fast-paced digital, running operations from the top level there, insights over the last year.
I think where I am right now, which is healthcare, it has positively impacted the business. In fact, it has even accelerated where we're supposed to be at. So we skipped the entire phase almost of educating customers. So for example, like telemeds, I don't need to inform customers what they are all about, because everyone is so used to video calls right now, so used to using that WhatsApp video, Zoom, and even Google Hangout. So that's that from the business perspective. But operationally, because everyone's working from home, I realized that internet is not exactly the same and advanced in all parts of Malaysia. So like even in Johor, whenever I listen to the calls, it's like you can hear the customers are so frustrated because the lines are just not through. The calls are just being dropped off every now and then. So I think for a call center perspective, the infrastructure is not quite there, not quite ready.
Okay, cool. So these are the key, this one primary takeaway you've taken from the last year or so. Awesome. Okay, cool.
Organizations kind of blame culture. Is the culture stupid? That's why we're not transforming or not as fast as we want to. Culture is a risk to kind of this change.